Okay. You guys sound great, man. What the hell? I think we need to start playing 7:30 more often. Is that the deal? What's that? Oh boy. Let's not, but actually if they paid more.
Good morning, everyone. We have one more tune for you, and then we'll be getting started. If you're here in the ballroom, please find your way to your seats. And for those of you at home, refill your coffee. As we are about to begin, you won't want to miss a minute of hearing from the youth we serve, Dr. Heather, and more. Thank you. One more song.
On any given night in Minneapolis, there are about 600 youth that are unsheltered, and we don't have enough places for youth to go. YouthLink started more than 50 years ago by the city of Minneapolis and Hennepin County, and it started as the Youth Diversion Project. They put a group of social workers together, and they asked those social workers to divert them from the streets into pathways of education and opportunity. We serve the 18 to 24-year-old youth, and we serve some of the most vulnerable youth in the city. The youth that we serve, over 1,800, disproportionately, 90% of those youth are Black and brown, Indigenous, and other youth of color. They're youth that are very much trauma-based. They've been neglected. They've been youth that have been a lot of times in the system. They haven't maybe finished their school. They've been trying to succeed on their own. And they've come to that point in life where they've said, I need to do something. I need to change my life. But they're at the crossroads. The mission statement of YouthLink is to help youth to empower themselves to become self-reliant and to live the life and the dreams that they want to live. They're the captains of their own ship, but we navigate them towards that. And all of a sudden they'll say, I am somebody. I'm worth it. I've seen them fly. And it's the most beautiful thing in the world to watch them.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you all today? My name is Jared Brewington. I'm on the board of directors for YouthLink, and welcome to Stand Up for Youth, our 2021 YouthLink gathering. It's wonderful to be together this year, to see your beautiful faces here in the ballroom, and to those of you who are joining us virtually, it is also as good to see your beautiful faces too. Wherever you are, we're grateful for your support and for joining us this morning. As you've heard, on any given night, more than 600 youth, 24 and younger, are homeless. Every night in the city of Minneapolis. The streets are very dangerous, and these youth can often become victims of violence and sexual exploitation. YouthLink provides resources and shelter that allow these youth to find a way on their journey and make a positive impact on our community. That's why I joined the board of directors 2 years ago, and why I've committed my personal time and my life to support this organization's success. As a young man, there were many adults who supported me and invested in me and my crazy ideas and aspirations to lead me to where I am today, which is following my crazy ideas and aspirations still. An organization that's also invested in supporting youth is our premier sponsor, Choice Bank. And thank you, Choice Bank, and your representatives for your support. Let's take a brief moment to learn a little bit more about Choice Bank.
Today, it's more important than ever to put people first. That's always been our core value at Choice Bank, and now we're doubling down on that commitment. Choice is a locally owned bank that makes local decisions. Our customers are our neighbors, farmers, small business owners, and we stand by them in good times and challenging times. It's often said that people will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. With Choice Bank, you'll feel like we put you first, because we always have. Join our family at bankwithchoice.com.
This morning, we're all invited to invest in youth. And over the next 30 minutes, you're going to hear from some of the youth that we serve, and also from Melvin Tennant, who is receiving this year's Todd Klingel Star of Hope Award. And of course, we're here to celebrate Dr. Heather and the recent announcement of her retirement. Dr. Heather has been a very most critical part of YouthLink's success for the past 17 years. We'd like to invite our chair of the board, Steve Kramer, to come up to the stage and share a few words.
Jared, thank you, and thank you all for being with us this morning. We have many things to accomplish this morning, but in my mind, none more important than to recognize and celebrate the leadership and legacy of Dr. Heather Huseby. A real force of nature, as we all know, fierce advocate, passionate leader, these are just a few of the things that come to mind when I think of Dr. Heather. I've had the privilege of serving on the board for several years and as a board chair for the last 3 or 4. And I've witnessed firsthand her dedication that she's demonstrated over her 17-year tenure. Under her leadership, the YouthLink opened the Youth Opportunity Center in 2010, a collaboration of agencies providing services for young people in one location. This unique approach helps youth break down barriers they sometimes face in trying to access the resources they need on their journey to self-reliance. In 2013, YouthLink was honored with a Best in Business award from the Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce for its comprehensive housing, healthcare, tutoring, and job training services provided on-site at our facility to teens and young adults experiencing homelessness. Dr. Heather then led a $6 million capital campaign that allowed YouthLink to partner with Project for Pride in Living to build Downtown View, a 46-unit apartment, and then also renovate YouthLink offices to include a drop-in center filled with natural light. And when it opened in 2018, it was named a top construction project by Finance and Commerce. And then in 2020, thanks to a generous $700,000 gift from the Fry Foundation, YouthLink was able to extend its hours overnight for the first time in their 45-year history. And that meant that when the stay-at-home order was enacted by Governor Walz and resources normally relied upon closed for young adults, YouthLink was able to not only stay open, but remain committed to being a safe space for some of the most vulnerable members of our community day and night during those early days of COVID. I think the most important thing I learned from Dr. Heather, and the thing that people will say every time you ask about her, is her passion for the young adults that YouthLink serves, and we'll see that during our program. So Dr. Heather, on behalf of the organization, the board, all of our stakeholders, and all the people that have come to admire you over these 17 years, we sincerely thank you for your years of service, congratulate you on your incredible legacy of providing for young people in our community, and wish you the absolute best in your retirement and your transition to Executive Director Emeritus. Dr. Heather, please join us on the stage.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. I'll just say a few things. Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate that. I have to say that, Steve has meant a lot to me over the last years. I worked hard to get him on to be the chair of the board. I had many coffees with him, and finally he said, okay. I just want to say that from the day that I walked into YouthLink, it was October 4th, 2004, and I'll always remember that day because that was the day my first grandchild was born, and my daughter's here, Kelsey. And on October 4th, she turned 17. From the day I walked into an unrenovated fortified brick building on 41 North 12th Street, which was a jewelry manufacturing company, my eyes have remained focused on youth. In fact, there was a youth in the drop-in center that looked just like Kelsey, who's taking pictures right there. And sitting in there was this young woman, and I was mesmerized by her, and I kept asking, about her story. And my eyes never took my eyes off youth. During those 17 years, I'll never forget one of the board chairs, Bruce Neerland, who he has a table here, but he's not here today, always asked me as board chair, what keeps me up at night? And he always would ask me that every time we met. So over those 17 years, there were 6,200 nights that I spent thinking things. And what kept me up for 6,200 nights were young people. thinking about what night they spent and if they had a good night and they had a safe place to sleep. And when I started all of this, I thought about, all I knew was that YouthLink was a place where the lives of youth were changed. But what I know today, it's a special place where if we invest in the lives of youth, it's a place where youth change our lives. And that it's a place where an agency where they change our communities. It's a place where people like Quendy Raymond, who's sitting over at this table. Quendy, will you stand up, please? Where Quendy Raymond, who was one of the first youth that we served back 20-some years ago, 30 years ago, who, if we invest in a Quendy Raymond, graduates from McAllister College, goes on her journey, and she says to herself, I'm going to invest in the next generation, my son. And Malachi, I know you can't stand up, but do you want to raise your hand? And Malachi, she invests in Malachi, and Malachi now is going into his first year at Middlebury College in Vermont. And the journey goes on, and the generations go on, and that investment goes on. And the second person that was going to be here today, but his 4 children are sick, is another young man that was going to sit at my table, and his name is Jamie Novotny. And Jamie also was another investment. Jamie was born in Asheville, Wisconsin, a small town in Wisconsin. But he was a young man who eventually became a vice president at Sunrise Bank. Jamie moved to Minneapolis after being bullied because he was LGBTQ, and he became one of the nation's first cases of having a landmark settlement for being bullied because he was LGBTQ, and a landmark, the Southern Poverty Law Center took it on. And he overturned, he got a settlement for being bullied for being gay and being gay at the schools. And he had a settlement. And it's been a landmark case and against bullying. And I'm sorry that he wasn't here today, but it's been because he came to YouthLink, because we advocated for him, and he's made a difference in the lives of other young people who are LGBTQ. That's what YouthLink can do, and that's what young people can do. The other is that when we invest in young people, we have a whole table back here of young people who are now on our Voices of Youth. We have Rocky, we have Hassan, we have Quincy. All of these young people are making a difference in their lives. That's what it's about in these 17 years. So I leave you with YouthLink with fond memories of the past 17 years. Fond memories of relationships with the community, with donors and colleagues that will continue forever. But most of all, I leave you with the realities that dreams do come true for youth. And they can come true if you invest and you stand up for youth. The years are tough for youth. And we've lost some youth. And that's the hardest thing to do. When I have someone come in my office and say, we lost someone to the war on drugs, to the violence on the streets. And so I ask that we just take a few minutes of silence for those that we've lost. But I ask you to leave with the belief that we're going to stand up. That you leave today with the belief that we're going to stand up for youth. And I ask you for believe with one word that I've stood on. And I stood on that since the day that my husband passed away, October 5th, 2009. Believe. Believe in these young people. Invest in them. They're worth it. Thank you.
Wow, and thank you, Dr. Heather, for those heartfelt words. Your passion for the organization is what got me deeper in excitement and passion and energy for the organization. So thank you for sharing why this organization's meant so much to you. It means a lot. Thank you very much. It's now my true honor to introduce the Voices of Youth Council and Dr. Heather back to the stage. This group was established by the youth that we serve and the YouthLink board a little over a year ago. They advise our board and our leadership on policies and program development. I serve as a board advisor to that council, and it's been absolutely amazing to watch the energy and growth and fortitude to commit to the youth in our community. So I introduce Quincy Poe, Hassan Asadiq, Kiara Raquel, and Dr. Heather Huseby.
Okay. This is about the young people on this panel, so I'm just going to start it out. We celebrate a lot of differences on in our organization, and you serve as these young people serve as part of our Voices of Youth. They serve as liaisons to vocalize the needs of youth, and they do that through representing the risks of homelessness, and then they engage staff, the community, to talk about the needs of youth. We know that you're the ones that really know what it means to stand up for youth. So my first question for you is, can you take a few minutes to talk about who you are and also what it means to really stand up and invest in youth? I'll start with you, Rocky.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Kiara Raquel, also known as Rocky. I am the treasurer of the Voice of Youth Council, and I just forgot the last part of that question. I said,
what does it mean to stand up and invest in youth from your perspective?
Oh, from my perspective, how we invest in the youth is particularly with homelessness, is approaching it as not this one-off incident, as not a crisis, but as something that needs to be tended to long-term. So when you come into YouthLink, you get an opportunity navigator, a caseworker, and they say, what are your goals? A lot of the youth's goals are get a job, get a crib. But what about after that? What about getting therapy, getting professional development, traveling, getting world experience, world views? So that's how I feel we should invest in youth, is by staying with them for the long run and checking on them, not just saying, oh, you got a house now, you're fine. No, what about those life skills, about cooking and cleaning, hygiene, taking care of oneself? And I'll pass it to Quincy now.
That was great. Hi, my name is Quincy Poe, and I am the chair of the Voice of Youth Advisory Council. And what it means to invest in young people from my perspective is to lead, to sit down with us and to mentor us, to help guide us, and not just listen and respond, but to help us to understand what does this mean to get to the next step. And so touching on what Rocky was saying, bringing us to those opportunities, but in seeing our that we're interested in getting a job, or seeing our hustle and turning that hustle into entrepreneurship opportunity. So helping us pull that helping us pull what you see in us out of us and putting that in front of us and pushing that forward. And that's what YouthLink has done for me this past year, is like show me the beauty that's inside of me and all that I can do with that. And so that's what it means to invest in youth from my perspective.
No doubt, no doubt. Peace, love, justice, and black power. My name is Bossman Kais. My name is Hassan Asadiq, but I go by Bossman Kais, and I serve as the vice chair for the Voices of Youth Advisory. This sounds weird, sorry. For me, what an investment into youth means is putting the money where your mouth is. We get a lot of lip service about, oh, we care, but we are limited in our procedural ways that we are, let me catch my breath. Okay, so we're very limited in the ways in which we think of procedural outcomes in this type of work, and I've been spending the last 5 years of my life really challenging that directly through my own navigation. So I've noticed that there is a gap in succession planning for culturally relevant programs in points of access like homelessness into home ownership, entrepreneurial development, and other professional development. So when I'm thinking about investment, I'm thinking about who can I go to help me expand this business idea? Where can I go to get access to this program that's going to empower me? That way I don't have to only lean on the services that I get from YouthLink or any of the other transitional housing agencies. That's what I got for now.
Yeah, that's good.
I've heard you all talk about that before. I just want to mention that, is that you talk about getting out of crisis. That's one thing that you've talked about. I just want to summarize that. But you also have talked about getting the skills and the ability to self-advocate for yourselves. I think that's what you've been talking about, and the ability to have somebody to mentor you and to help you learn how to have not only the A option, but the B options and the C options to be able to become homeowners, become your own advocates for yourselves. That's one thing that you've said, I've heard you say before. Let me ask you another question. What's the best way that you've seen on your journey someone to really stand up for you or stand up for someone else? What have you seen along your journey?
So, I experienced homelessness in 2016 and was housed by 2017. And today I work for Culture Club, which is another nonprofit that partners with YouthLink. And I obviously am on the Voice of Youth Council. So I'm just going to speak about these two organizations and how they fed me, and now I live a nutritious life, working with them and giving back to youth. So YouthLink, I think a lot of the staff, Lorraine, Portia, who's no longer with YouthLink, and several other staff who have moved on, had poured into me by giving me opportunities. I worked in the kitchen with Carl. That was like my first internship, paid job with them. And then from there, I was a participant at Culture Club, and Culture Club does a lot of arts engagements. It's a place for self-expression. It's a safe space for LGBTQ and beyond. And I remember going there, and I was like, man, I love this. I come in at a 2 and leave at a 10, and eventually they started contracting me. They were like, hey, we want you to be our art installation intern. Hey, we want you to be a teaching artist. And this past month, they offered me a part-time position. So now I am a youth development specialist for Culture Club. So that's an example of how you support, or how I've been supported through YouthLink and their partners.
I'm going to ask, can you just repeat the question one more time?
How have you seen in your journey, either you or someone else, really someone stand up for you and help you get through your journey, or someone else?
Oh, there's so many different examples. One that I'm going to use that's got me to the spot here in my journey is the relationship I have with Dr. Heather. Last year, when the unrest started happening in our city, I was in the program at YouthLink before that, and YouthLink was getting a lot of heat. You know, a lot of people were talking about YouthLink and, you know, what we're doing for the youth, since we're the main organization that we look to for our young people in our community. And being in the program and doing some internships with the YouthLink, I reached out to Dr. Heather and Lorraine. It's like, can we talk about some things? Can we, you know, try to figure some things out? How are we centering our young people? How are we uplifting them and making sure that they're protected in these moments? Because that's what really matters. And so Dr. Heather called me back within like a week or two and was like, yo, I need you to get over here so we can figure this out. And so I met with her and Lorraine, and I was like, it's not just gonna take me, it's gonna take multiple young people, because every young person has a unique situation, and we have to make sure that we're feeding those situations so that the end goal is that they are empowered, that they are in positions where they can feed another young person, and that cycle continues. And so that's been one of the most empowering moments of my life, because not only did Dr. Heather and Lorraine sit down and listen to me and hear what I had to say and implement that in their own ways, but they implement it in the way that I was saying to implement it. That's where the empowerment starts, in my opinion. Not having you sit at your tables, but sitting at the young person's table, listening to them and allowing them to lead. That's been transformative for me, and that's the best example I have of adult pouring into me.
I'm gonna build off of that table, right? So it's great to sit at tables, but it's great to build a table. And one way that I felt the impact of support was this program, Brother to Brother. So we don't, as Black men, have a lot of outlets for expressing ourselves, especially being a part of the LGBTQ community, as well as the many other systemic communities and labels that often are attached to us by the age of 24. And TC, Thomas Collins, he started a Brother to Brother group, which is a men's group centering men. And it wasn't just Black men, it was all men. And it wasn't just straight men, it was all men. And I think that in that space, I've seen and still have those relationships with some of the young folks who came through there, a real transformation of ideology and self-respect when they were able to connect with one another and express, you know, hey, this is how I'm feeling today. This is what's going on. And, you know, nobody's snickering or, you know, slightly judging in body demeanor. So then people started opening up more, and, you know, we got to go for a good run. I think it was like a full year of programming, and, you know, it expanded. People, young men started coming to those spaces and would look forward to it. And in that way, I felt not only supported, but affirmed. I felt empowered. I felt vulnerable, and okay with my vulnerability being out on display, because that allowed other people to be empowered. So yeah, I think that the best way that I felt supported was being a part of those conversations with young folks, being able to be vulnerable so that others can be empowered.
So if you, the three of you and I were just in a room together, none of these people were out here. What would you say, what would you want to say to, if no one was out here? And you were just us. What would you want to say if you could say to these people, if I could tell somebody something about the best way to stand up for us, what would you tell them? What message would you give?
I'm going to pass this and get my thoughts together.
Well, I mean, in this current moment that I'm in now, I would say get with Dr. Heather and figure out what she's doing. Because like I said earlier, the relationship that I built with Dr. Heather over this past year has been very transformative. There's been many adults that have poured into me, that have seen the beauty inside of me that I haven't seen in myself. Sometimes I'm like, are you sure? I don't think I got it like that. But being in meetings with Dr. Heather, our conversations, our authentic, our random combos at times, and being able to be vulnerable. And in that vulnerability, professionally and personally develop, that, find a person who has a blueprint or who's doing something like that and figure out how you can do it with a young person. Because that's how we invest. Yeah, of course there's dollars, but that mentorship, sitting down and helping a young person understand, hey, this is what this policy means. This is how it directly impacts you, but this is also how you can change it. That's huge. Because we know all the policies are out there, we know all the laws are out there, but we want to know how we can change it for our better, so that we can be those change makers for our future generations, so that we can start to push the ball forward. And a lot of times we hear that, that's just a policy, that's just a law. But Dr. Heather had the nerve to center youth and to say that this is what this youth is saying, and we need to listen, and we need to do what they're saying. That's what we need to do. That's what everyone in here needs to do. Figure out how she's doing that, how another adult is doing that, and get to it. Seriously.
If we was in a room alone, or actually we're in this room for that matter, I'd say really, really call out procedural racism inside your organizations, inside your institutions, because racism isn't directly and overtly calling someone the N-word anymore. Now it's, I'm going to limit what you have access to. And depending on how I'm feeling that day, you might not get what you need. And that's not good for not the clients, not the organization, and not the community. And it really, really affects us. Create programs that create traction out of trauma. We need homelessness to home ownership, entrepreneurial access and development, professional and personal development, mental health, as well as emotional and spiritual health. We need professionals that want to be around and want to empower. And we need to really understand who makes up our organization's infrastructure, because, if it takes only just a review of a policy, well, who's preventing us from reviewing that policy? Because, my life isn't limited to what has been working in the past. We're past that. We're at a point of creating and building a future that I'm going to live into, and the way that things work currently are not it. And support our entrepreneurship. I started an organization because I saw in our many 10,000 nonprofits a cultural gap. We have nothing in it for Black folks to begin succession planning. intentionally. We don't have anything for black folks to be, and we make up 80 to 90% of, all of these service recipients. We don't have anything that's dedicated or culturally relevant that brings us through those same opportunities as it pertains to getting mentorships, getting academic support that centers us, right? So call out that white supremacy. Call it what it is, procedural racism.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
You guys are great. And I agree with absolutely everything they say and have said. And what I'd like to add on is to invest in the staff, the caseworkers, and also make sure you're hiring the right ones, the ones who are impact-driven, passion-driven, who care about the youth, and who are willing to work with those problem clients or problem children or whatever, the ones who aren't easy to bond with, the ones who aren't, don't have goals, who have trauma. Because it's so easy to, encounter someone like Rocky or Hassan or Quincy and be like, wow, they're so great, they're so driven, they're natural leaders. But what about someone who's been struggling with depression, who has, this immense amount of trauma and isn't easy to talk to and isn't easy to help? We need people who are willing to invest in them, to work with them, to become their friend, their mentor, and essentially their family, because that's what YouthLink is to me. Lorraine is my family. Dr. Heather is my family. Carl is my family. Carl is my therapist. He looks at my face and he's like, "What's up with you?" I'm like, "How you know?" Nothing. You sure? I'm like, "What do you mean? Look at your face." Oh, okay. So how do we get staff to work with someone who has a problem? Don't just leave them alone. Don't just stop at, oh, okay, we got you a bus card, we got you some tokens, we gave you some interview clothes. This is basic necessities. We need to dig deep. We need folks who are willing to dig deep. And that's where I'm at with it. And another thing, nonprofits, this nonprofit complex where it's like, oh, okay, we're getting all this money. How are we going to allocate these funds in the most efficient way for the youth? Sometimes giving out $25 gift cards, in my opinion, is performative, yes. It's thank you, Quincy. It's not doing anything, So I would just say have, as my role as the treasurer would be to really work with the people on the board and the accounting department to make sure that we're not spending $3,000 on an event when we can spend $3,000 on an initiative where we're investing in youth's professional development. And that's all.
Hassan, did you want to say?
And I wanted to just say, to what Rocky said, yes, it's easy to work with folks who understand what they want to do, but it's not like we don't have our own issues. We go to therapy, we go and we do that shadow work, that grunt work, but it's not always easy when we still have to battle that other side too, just to be able to say, that I take care of myself, I take care of my mental health, I take care of my emotional health, but not being able to like really access those services unless it's through one of these channels. Like, we should be able to walk into a clinic and be like, hey, I need some mental health therapy. I need access to someone who's gonna sit and listen to me as I talk about 5, 10, 20,000 different things in the span of 1 minute and still understand me.
You ask us to evolve, and we need y'all to evolve with us at every step of the way.
So what I want to say as we end here is this. This is why we have the Voices of Youth. This is why it's so important to have their input into YouthLink. This is why your investment is so important. We have turned a corner at YouthLink to hear these voices, to have their connection into the agency. YouthLink is youth-centered. YouthLink has the voices of youth driving us into the future. These are critical voices, and we're listening. This is what YouthLink is about in the future, your investment in youth. You helping us and have them stand up for these young people is critical to us. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing and for being with us this morning. It was really beautiful to hear from your hearts. I think we all learned something today, and we can all appreciate that the voices of the youth that we serve can be very informative to our programming, and it's a critical program and component to this organization going forward. We really appreciate it. Thanks again. So, we're all here to make a difference in the lives of youth in our community, to provide resources and support and care to those that might otherwise remain homeless. And we do need your help in this important work. Everyone should be receiving a text now or around now inviting you to donate, or you can use your cell phone and visit bidpal.net/YouthLink 2021. It's the same site that you registered on. Those of you in the ballroom, there's also remit envelopes at your tables that you could use as well. So we're grateful this morning to have an anonymous gift of $10,000 to kick off our giving. So we want to give thanks for that generous donation. But please give at a level that's meaningful to you. 10,000 is a good start for anyone else who wants to kick in $10,000. But a gift of $100 will also provide a month of bus passes to help the youth we serve to get to a job or to school. And this morning we have a matching gift at the $100 level. So the next 12 $100 donations are going to be matched by the Fellhaber-Larson Foundation. So thank you for that, Fellhaber-Larson team. If $100 isn't appropriate, $10,000 again is back on the table. Or a gift of $30 covers the cost of a GED test for one of our youth that is advancing their education. $5,000 to those who just passed on the $10,000. Well, at least that giving amount is equal to stocking 10 pantries for our youth. And we had a special announcement that we were halfway there. Chris and Jess Garcia were so kind to donate $2,500 to get us to that point. So thank you very much, Garcias. And so with that, we're looking for five more people. Let's say 5 more people to give $500 to get us to that point where we can have the ability to get to that level for stocking up to 10 pantries. So those virtually or those here today, feel free to join the Garcias and get to that level at a $500 level. So bottom line, your gift is going to change the future for young people and show that you're standing in solidarity with the youth on their journey to end homelessness. And we want to wish thanks to all the names that we've been seeing on the screens and have been making generous donations as well. Thanks for all your support in that. Before we get to our Todd Klingel Award presentation, I want to give a heartfelt thanks to our sponsors that are going to be popping up on the screens here soon, and including our presenting sponsor again, Choice Bank. And it is now my honor to bring Quincy back to the stage, and also our board chair, Steve Kramer, and they're going to say a few words and bring some wonderful awards to a very deserving person.
Thank you, Jared. All right. The late Todd Klingel, president of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce, was one of our first business champions and single-handedly engaged the downtown business community to support our first and subsequent 3 other executive sleepouts. He was always the first to arrive and last to leave every sleepout. Even when Todd was diagnosed with kidney cancer, in his last phases of life, he insisted on sleeping out at the event one more time in September of 2016. He made it to 2 a.m. Todd passed away October 30th, 2016.
This is a serious award, and I want to get to it, but first I have to ask Quincy, did Dr. Heather really say, "Yo, Quincy"?
No, she did.
Okay.
But it felt like it with the energy.
All right, very good. I'm just going to go off script here and say Todd was really a special civic leader in our community, somebody who really exemplified the connection of the business community to issues like youth homelessness, and organizations like YouthLink set a standard for people like Jonathan Weinhagen, the current chamber president, and myself to live up to. And the person we're honoring today, without a doubt, lives up to that standard. Melvin Tennant is the CEO of Meet Minneapolis, a longtime board member at YouthLink, and somebody who I also consider a friend and a colleague, and couldn't think of a more deserving recipient of this award. So, Melvin, please come on up.
All right, just a couple more words for Mr. Tennant.
Thank you, Quincy.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
For the crowd. This year, we are honored to present this award to Melvin Tennant, who is exceptionally deserving of this award. Melvin Tennant has been president and CEO of Meet Minneapolis, the city's convention and visitors association, since 2008. In addition to the phenomenal work he and his team has done, done to bring events both large and small to the region during that time, he is also a significant civic leader who served on the YouthLink board for 6 years and was such a strong advocate for the organization. He was designated as the first emeritus member when the board term expired. He assists his wife, Julie, in her homelessness ministry that focused on residents of the Salvation Army Arbor Lights as he continues his legacy of community service. And then please join me in I'm giving this award to Melvin Tennant.
Thank you, Quincy. Thank you, Steve. Is there any question about the impact that YouthLink has on our community? Is there any question at all? And I'd also like to add my congratulations and thank you to Dr. Heather for the great work that she's done over the years. I think she deserves another round of applause for all that she's done for our youth. Thanking Dr. Heather and the staff of YouthLink that do the work even when nobody's looking. That's really what's important. You hear the reports of the things that they've done, but it is what happens when nobody's watching, and I've seen her work when nobody's watching, so that's certainly something I'm very proud to know. And Steve Kramer, as the chair of YouthLink, you also have a day job. You know, you're the mayor of downtown, running the Minneapolis Downtown Council and Downtown Improvement District. You do your walk every morning, making sure everything's good, reporting back. You know, probably you're out there probably bumping shoulders with Shane every morning. So to be able to have the time and the commitment to do what you do, I certainly want to thank you for your leadership on the YouthLink board, and also all the staff and other youth that really have made this organization the great organization that it is. I know I've just got a couple of minutes, but I want to talk just a little bit about my YouthLink journey. It actually began a number of years ago when I was in a meeting with some business association. I don't know if it was the Chamber or the Downtown Council, but a former employee, Francis, who had just been on the job maybe a few weeks. And she was at this particular business association meeting, and she talked about some of the statistics that relate to the work that YouthLink does. About 2,000 youth a year being served, about a 50-50 split between males and females, and a lot of the young women already parents at ages 16 to 24. And that really struck me because at that time I was working with our church, youth church, and so basically some of the youth that I was working with could have been the youth that YouthLink was serving. So that really stuck with me. And certainly my journey to get on the board began. And Steve, you'll attest to this, when Dr. Heather goes after you to get on the board, she is relentless. I'm just wondering if you've maybe are a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police or something. I'm not sure. But the thing with being on the board is it's like the Hotel California. You check in, but you never leave. You never leave. You never leave. But it's certainly an effort that I don't want to ever leave. And it's always in my heart the great work that YouthLink does. But quickly before I sit down, I want to talk about a single word called determination. And the determination in Webster's dictionary means firmness of purpose or resoluteness. But in the context in which I'm going to use it right now, I'm going to add to that stubborn. And stubborn is that lady right there in the white dress. Julie, wave your hand. Everybody, wave your hand. Now, you know, we have this thing in our house. If she comes up with an idea that I don't agree with, she simply says, save your breath, because I'm going to do it anyway. And that level of stubbornness or purposefulness has really helped her in her ministry that was mentioned in the bio. She, rain or shine, hot, cold, when she's not feeling well, she is down there several times a week, and I've been able to be a part of that, to support her. And the work that I've been able to do to help her has also benefited me from the work with YouthLink, because not only are we dealing with policies and ideas and all, but you really get a chance to see people face to face. And when you go down there, they gather around her, they know her, they miss her if she's not there. So certainly, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of your work, and thank you, and I love you. And of course, having had the pleasure of working with Todd Klingel and to be able to receive this award with his name on it is just humbling, and it's truly an honor. And I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to give a shout out to my team. I've got some team members that are up here at the table. And a shout out for our organization, Meet Minneapolis, which is responsible and lives for live meetings. So we're very excited about having an in-person gathering. So thank you guys for being here today, and thank them for the great work they do in promoting and marketing our great city. Thank you all very much. This is truly, truly an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Quincy, Steve, and Melvin. This has been a phenomenal morning. A lot of emotions. The word vulnerability came up a few times this evening, and I recall how much strength is needed in one's character to actually be vulnerable. And again, to the youth that were up here and sharing their experience and just really opening their hearts and sharing the fact that their vulnerability led to growth. So I encourage all of us to be more intentional and vulnerable in our lives as we go forward. Life's one direction, so we just want to make sure that when we're touching people and involved in their lives, it's a meaningful interaction and exchange. There's a lot of negative energy out there, and in this room today, it feels really good. I don't drink coffee. I'm awake now, so this has been great. Let's take a look at our scoreboard and see what we've been doing today so far. Well, that's a good-looking number. I want to thank everybody for their generosity this morning. That'll keep the good work of YouthLink going on and continuing to expand. We want to invite you to take the cards at your place setting as a reminder of how you can continue to invest in youth after this morning's breakfast. I don't want to cause any disarray at anyone's tables, but I invite you to take those flowers home at your place setting, but how about the closest birthday to today gets the flowers? So, and that'll also help us clean up. But you don't all have to take a chair, so that's good. I'd like to thank you all for being here and invite you to all network and fellowship a little bit afterwards once this event is done, and continue listening to some more tunes from the Oh So Funky AM Trio. And we appreciate them being here and giving us some good vibes when we got here and as we make our way to our days and going to impact the world in the ways that we all do. So thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate your time, your hearts, and your generosity. And on behalf of the board of directors, really appreciate your support over this last year and into the future. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah. It's true, man. The chord is, it's all about the bass, right? Right there.